welcome to all participants for this international webinar on effective presentation skills. I welcome all the participants, staff members of Department of Mechanical Engineering and staff members from other colleges and students, budding engineers, and the pre-final year and lower semester students also. On this occasion, I would like to give a warm welcome to all, and also I welcome the Professor and Dean Dr. Ratnakar ji and Professor and Dean Dr. Govinda Gowda and Bhagyashri Madam of the ATME College of Engineering. And I would like to extend a warm welcome to Dr. Srinivasa K, HOD Department of Mechanical Engineering, for this webinar on effective presentation skills. I also welcome Ashwatappa sir from Vemana Institute of Technology, and he was retired from Micro Vocational Center. Sir, I welcome you, sir, on this occasion. I also welcome speaker Muralidhar Govindaswamy for this session, and I request Muralidhar to start this session on the topic effective presentation skill. I welcome you, sir. Over to Muralidhar, sir. Muralidhar, unmute ಮಾಡಿ sir.
It's muted. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for organizing this presentation on presentation skills. And thank you for all the efforts that Mr. Devraj has taken to coordinate and do this. And I thank all the professors and all the dignitaries who are attending this presentation, and most importantly, the budding students, the outgoing students who will be the future engineers. And if I may request all of you to just mute, because I get an echo back when I speak. I still get an echo when I speak. May I request everyone to be on mute, please? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, as Professor Devraj said, my name is Muralidhar Govindaswamy, and I'm from India, a town called Chikbalapur. Maybe you may know that. I've done my master's in computer applications in SJCIT, and later I joined there as a lecturer together with Mr. Devraj. And further, in 2006, I joined a company called Mindtree Limited as a technical specialist and worked there for 10 years. And then I moved to the Netherlands in 2013. And now I work here as a migration consultant for a company called KPN. KPN is a data center services company where we host applications of customers. You can compare this very much similar to AWS or Azure. So in my role, I'm a migration consultant. I will not take much time of yours to talk more about myself. What's important to me is to deliver what I want from a communication and effective presentation skills. Let me share my screen with you. I hope everybody can see my screen.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I feel that it's an honor to make this presentation to the outgoing students, because 20 years back I was in the same situation as you are now, the students. I was also an outgoing student, and it was quite a challenge for me to think, what should I really do after I finish my graduation? or my master's, what is the way forward? What should I really be doing? What is the right thing to do? What is the wrong, or what I should not do, or what I should avoid to do? So in that sense, when Mr. Devraj asked, or when we had a contact, so I recommended that let's do a session about presentation skills, how effectively you can present yourself. Before we go deep into the topic, I have a question to all the audience. How many of you wear leather shoes? Especially for the students, because I'm not sure if you are very much used to wearing leather shoes, because now it's a trend of wearing jeans, t-shirts, and sports shoes or other stuff. So to be very funky rather than to be very formal. So that's how it is. So even I was very much the same when I was a student and passed out as a student. So the reason why I ask you this question is I will relate this question back in the presentation later, but I still want to know how many of you wear leather shoes? I hope not many of them. They're used to wearing this. Okay, keep this in your mind. Why ask this question? And then we go on now further with the presentation. So this is the agenda for today. So the agenda is very simple. An introduction, which I already did about myself. It's a very short introduction. As I said, I don't want to take much of your time. So we talk about prerequisites. What are these prerequisites? Which means what you need to be aware while you have to present yourself. Because one of the important things that is how you present yourself makes a lot of difference. It makes a lot of positive difference, as well as if not done quite right, it can also have a lot of negative impression that others may form on you. So we'll talk about the prerequisites, what you should be aware and what you should be doing. Then we talk something about tools and the content. We talk something about the body language, and we talk something about resume and interviews. So I have formulated this presentation keeping in mind the outgoing students, that it's good to know this, because when I was a student, I had very less information about this, or almost no information about this. Rather than I would give all my experiences to you. I'm not an expert, to be open and frank with you all. There are deans, there are professors who are more experienced than me, but I would just share my experiences that I had in the last 20 years as a student and as a lecturer for a few years, as an employee in different companies. First thing is plan. So planning is the most important part of any prerequisite or any action that you do. Unless you have a right plan, it could be for anything. It could be for anything. You wanna drive a car, you need to plan how you want to do that. You want to arrange things for yourself. You want to buy a car or you want to rent a car, and then you have to learn how to drive. It's all in the planning. So in this context, when I planned for this presentation, I had one purpose. What's the purpose? Why am I doing this presentation? And whom am I doing this presentation to? The purpose is very clear, that it's an experience sharing with the outgoing students who will get information or knowledge about how they have to present themselves. That's the purpose. And of course, the outgoing students are the audiences. And my planning is primarily based on that. Prepare. So in this prepare phase, I had to design my presentation. I had to design a presentation in such a way that it's pleasable, it's pleasing to you, or you should appreciate it. You should get some information. When you after 40 minutes or after 1 hour when you go away, so you take something with you. So that's the way I wanted to design this presentation. I have to create some slides with some content in it. Of course, practice, irrespective of how experienced you are, practice is always essential. And trust me, I did at least 5 rounds of practice. And yeah, so it's always there. It doesn't mean that once somebody is an expert, it doesn't have to practice. No, it's always a practice that makes you perfect. And mirror, what is this mirror? Can somebody in the audience tell me or know any idea of what this mirror is? You may unmute and you can just.
Muralidhar.
Yep.
I am Professor Ashwatthappa.
Yes, sir.
I belong to a village in Chikbalapura district.
Oh, okay.
40 years back, I migrated immediately after my 10 years of schooling.
Okay.
When I started my career as an instructor,
Yeah.
the first thing I was doing is, whenever I prepare and practice, I should stand in front of mirror and practice.
Perfect. Perfect. Excellent. Yeah, that's what. Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you for your answer, and that's perfect. That's what I exactly meant. Mirror. It's always very good to see yourself in the mirror. Of course, we just stand in the mirror to dress ourselves. Yeah, we comb our hair, we apply cream, all other things. But we don't talk to ourselves in front of the mirror. It's very, very rare. And it's very good practice to do that so that you can see yourself, you can judge yourself, you can evaluate yourself. How are you presenting? And you can look at the mistakes that you do. And it sounds funny initially. That's fine. If you want to laugh in front of the mirror, that's absolutely fine. Laugh for 5 minutes, laugh for 10 minutes. You get used to it. The more you get used to it, the more effective it will be. So one of those important things that I would recommend, as Professor Ashwatthappa also was doing, what he shared with us now, is try to practice this. Practice, and where you want to practice, you can practice with your parents, with your brothers, with your sisters. Have them in front of you and then give them a presentation. Talk to them. If you want to attend an interview, talk to them. And it's always good to do mistakes in front of people who you know very well, rather than being or doing a lot of mistakes in front of the audience that you don't know, where you don't want to be a laughing stock. So it's fine to do mistakes in front of people whom you know. It can be your classmates. So make sure you practice this very well. And that's one of the important parts of the prepare. And then present. Of course, when you have planned it well, when you know the purpose of your presentation, when you know who the audience are, and you have prepared based on the audience. For example, if I just talk something about life sciences to you, doesn't make any sense. So I have to have the subject according to the audiences. Who are the audiences? And then, yeah, present. So when you have done the planning, when you have prepared well, go ahead and plan and make sure to give a good closure with a summary of what you have presented for 30 minutes or 1 hour or 2 hours, or whatever it is. Are there any questions from the students? Please be open. I'm not here to just say something to you and you just listen and go away. I want this to be more interactive. Let's talk to each other. Let's let me give you an opportunity to ask questions if you have any questions. And if the best knowledge that I have, I can answer. In case if I don't know something, I will get back to you. You can always contact me. I will give all my details. So you can always contact me if you want. Are there any questions? OK, 5 seconds of mute is understood that there are no questions. OK, what are the tools that we usually use? Microsoft PowerPoint is one of the common or the most popular tool that is used. And there are a lot of interactive tools that are there in the market that can be used. Visual effect tools where visuals talk more than the presenter himself or herself. So these are the different types of tools. But I as with experience doing some presentations at my work, we always use Microsoft PowerPoint. So this is the common thing. And we need to be sure or to be aware of what exactly do we have to fill in with these presentations, or what should be the content. One of those important things is please avoid flooding a lot of text in your slides. This presentation, I mean, when I say presentation, the presenter should talk, and these tools or these PowerPoint slides are just a tool for them. It's a medium how he can talk. For example, if I forget something, I just put it on the slide so that I remember what I have to say. For example, now avoid flooding text in the slides. That's a point that I want to just address. Of course, I would elaborate more on that, but that's just a point I want to include in my presentation. So that's the difference. When you want to read out a lot of text, you don't have to do that. You just write it in a Word document, hand it out as handouts to all people, all audiences, and they'll read it by themselves. So you don't have to read for them. That's a handout. But what's a presentation? Presentation is where the text is very minimal or too limited in the slide, but you talk more. And that's one of the important things which I also learned over the past years to avoid a lot of flooding of text in the slides. Moving on to body language. So here I don't want to just sit and do some presentations. Usually I don't like to do that. So body language. So what's important? So what do you mean by body language? It's known, and there are a lot of documents, a lot of write-ups on that. The body language of a person can tell what his intentions are or what her intentions are. So it's very important to keep your body language in a right and a positive way. There are positive body languages, there are negative body languages. Let's see all of them one by one. The first one is the attire. The attire that you wear is very important. And now coming back to our question, or my question which I asked, how many of you wear leather shoes? In a formal presentation, people wear formal wear, formal shirts, formal pants, and leather shoes, or formal shoes to that matter. And I have read on a lot of occasions and a lot of places, the first thing that a person would look at the other person is his shoes. So it's important that in any formal presentation or in a professional presentation, it's always recommended to wear formal attire, and do not forget to polish your shoes. Your shoes should really shine. So that's a very positive impression that you're making, which means that when you want to present something, so it's also important that you present yourself well in a very appealing attire. You may ask me a question. I'm not wearing my shoes. I'm at home today, or for the last 6 months, I'm working from home. So I did not get a chance to wear my shoes, go out. So I'm not wearing my shoes today. So please don't judge me on that. But I'm still dressed formal. So this is how I always work. Even I'm at home, I'm dressed formal, because that's a discipline that everyone should have. It doesn't mean that if I'm working from home, I just wear a t-shirt and the Bermudas and then sit and work. No, that's not the way. So you should still be disciplined. So attire is one of the important things that you have to keep in mind, and wear the best attire. It's usually recommended. There's no hard and fast rule though. It's recommended that you wear a dark shaded pant, a trouser, and a light shaded shirt. Yeah, it's a common practice for me to wear a jumper on it. So, but it's still. Any questions? Are there any questions? Okay, moving on to the next point. Grab attention. So grabbing the attention of your audience is very important. The first 1 to 2 minutes of your presentation makes a lot of impact throughout. So always try to have a pitch for your presentation. And one of my pitches in this presentation was the question, how many of you wear leather shoes? The first impression on that question is, what is it to do with leather shoes or somebody wearing leather shoes with presentation skills or effective presentation skills presentation? So you have to make a right pitch, and you can take any pitch that you want to. It's the way of grabbing attention of your audiences. They should be curious. They should start thinking, why is this guy asking this question? What is it to do with this presentation? It could be any presentation. So when you initiate in their minds that curiousness, when they become curious, they're more attentive, and they're not like this, and they'll be very attentive with their ears open, eyes open, and looking at you for an answer. So that's one of the important things, to have a pitch for your presentation. And my pitch was, how many of you wear leather shoes? So that's one important thing. The moment you grab the attention of your audiences, you have won half the battle. So the rest goes in a flow. Then comes the posture. How you stand is also very important. I've read a lot of documents. I've been part of presentation skills programs at my work back home in India as well as here. The best posture, they say, is what I'm standing. This is the best posture that they say. And it takes a lot of practice. At least for me also, it took a lot of time to practice this. And this gives you a lot of confidence. And the audience also will feel a very positive vibration when you have the right posture. Other than that, this is a very cool. This looks very cool. Resting my hand on my chair. Yeah, but doesn't make any. Yeah, for a minute, for half a minute, that's fine. But you should not do the presentation all the while like this. It doesn't make audiences interesting. And it's a common practice that I have seen when I was part of Mindtree in India, and also in the as SJCAT as a lecturer. It's a common practice in all the auditoriums or small to have a podium, and you stand in front of the podium, and then you're trying to make a presentation or talk something. That's to a certain extent is okay, but there are recommendations to avoid any kind of props. Which is one of my other points. So posture is very important. So I just wanted to demonstrate things to you. So that's why I started walking and then doing this presentation. Posture, this is a good posture to make a presentation, or to stand to make a presentation. And one of the important things, yeah, these are all the important things. Eye-to-eye coordination. So when you are making a presentation in a bigger auditorium, or could be in a small seminar hall, you have to make sure you divide your participants into 3 blocks: the left block, the middle block, and the right block. So make sure you have eye-to-eye coordination with people in the left block, middle block, and the right block periodically. You should not just only look at the left block and then say, yeah, I want to say that. Don't explain that. Don't do that, because the rest of the 2 blocks, they would lose interest in your presentation or whatever you want to say. Even you tell a story, make sure that you have eye-to-eye coordination. And usually in an auditorium, when it's big, or in a seminar hall, which is medium-sized one, make sure you also have try to make an eye-to-eye contact with the last one who's sitting there. That's also important. So the last benchers, so what we call, make sure you also have attention towards the last benchers, and keep doing this. So that's the best way to grab your attention. So when you look at, you may pick a few people in the group. So when you say a left block, so you can pick some people and look at them, and they will definitely appreciate. And the same thing for the block in the middle, and the same thing for the block on the right side. So this is one important thing to maintain eye-to-eye coordination. For example, what if I just say something I wanted to say to you guys like this, and yeah, this is the presentation skill. I want to share my experiences with you, and then I want to. Does it make any sense, or does it give you any interest to listen to me? No, because I'm talking to a wall. That's not the intention. So you need to have an eye-to-eye coordination. That's very important. Unless you don't have this, the effective presentation will not be, or the presentation will not be really effective. You still make a presentation and audience will just say, okay, one more. Okay. Props. As I said, props. So this is, avoid using props. For example, standing like this. It looks cool, but does not make you feel professional, or make you feel you don't look very professional or very formal here. For a minute or for a few seconds, that's fine, but avoid using props. And also these podiums, like they just, you keep talking. You're trying to, I mean, it gives the impression that you're trying to hide yourself behind this prop. Try to come out of that comfort zone. The first thing is you should step out of your comfort zone. Don't stand or don't sit in your comfort zone. Of course, things are different when you're sitting. When you're sitting, of course, only this part, you have a table and the person on the other side is talking to you and you're talking to the other person. That's a different thing. But still, posture always matters. And when you sit, it's good to keep your hands like this. That's one of the important part of the body language, like this, so that you're open to what the other person says. You're listening, you're actively grabbing things or information from him. And make these, and for example, this is a posture in the body language where it says, yeah, I don't want, I'm listening for the sake of listening. Okay. I'm there for 40 minutes. And sitting like this relaxed is, yeah, that doesn't give you any positive impact. So when you're sitting, the best posture is this. Yeah, you may sit towards the back and then try to sit straight and then put your hands here. So that's a very good posture. Keep your hands open like this and then you may sit. So that's a good posture. It's a recommended posture to sit. And that always gives those positive vibes to the person whom you're talking to. Okay. Hand movements. Make very relevant hand movements. So it's not like you just fold your hands and then keep saying something or do a lot of hand movements. That doesn't make any sense. If I am talking and then I'm making a lot of hand movements, so it's a lot of distraction. Make relevant hand movements. For example, when I talked about eye-to-eye coordination, and I said, okay, you have a left block, you have a middle block, you have a right block. So your hand movements are very much coordinating with what you talk. And the posture, when I say a posture, I'm not doing any hand movements, I'm just doing this. So it's important to make meaningful and relevant hand movements. So your words and your hand movements should relate to each other. So that's, yeah, when you're sitting, you can still do that, but hand movements are very free when you're standing. Don't get tied to yourself. Keep it free and then be relaxed. And one tip is when you do a lot of hand movements, you will have a very, very good flow of words. So that's very important. Lion in a cage. Can anybody tell me what do I mean by lion in a cage? Or somebody from the audience? I mean, the students?
Sir, it's moving from left to right.
Yes, exactly. So you might have observed or seen a lion in a cage that it just goes like this. The only thing that it does is it goes from this side, it goes from this side, left to right, right to left. So when you're talking, don't do this. So of course you can try to move, give the slow movements when you're talking. That's fine. So that audience are not still, like for example, somebody who's looking, who's sitting on the left block are like this. Somebody looking on the right are like this, and center. No, give them some. Give yourself some movement, but make it slow. Make it feel natural. Don't talk like this. Yeah. I want to say something about presentation skills, line in a cage, and hand movements. It makes no sense. And yeah, that's this particular movement. They call it as line in a cage. So try to avoid this. You want to stand for some time, for a minute or two, stand. Then change your position. Go here. Maybe you have a bigger podium, bigger stage, or a decent size stage, or even without a stage, try to make some movements. Go close to them, see how you can interact with them, ask them some questions. So be interactive. Make your presentations or whatever you make it very, very interactive. Voice modulation. This is the most important, at least that I've come across. So voice, so you have to make sure that your voice is heard to the last benchers, the so-called the last benchers. So you have to be heard to them as well. So keep a modulation, don't be monotonous. I'm trying to tell you something today about presentation skills, which talks about attire, grab attention, postures, eye-to-eye coordination, props, hand movements, line in a cage, voice modulation, and this is very monotonous. And you cannot grab any attention when your tone is monotonous. So have some modulation. So even in the medical terms, so we should have this. A straight line means dead. So you should have this modulation. You should accordingly modulate your voice. Domination. It's common to come across people who try to dominate from the audiences. Usually they somebody who already knows the content, who knows the subject, they try to dominate. So that's a point where you should try to suppress the domination. So that's where your voice modulation comes into picture. Throw a question on the person who wants to dominate you in a presentation. And that's the best way, or one of the best ways to suppress that. So voice and its modulation is important. Fillers. This is by far the most common things, including me, which I used to do in the past, using fillers. What exactly by fillers? Like I have put something on the slides. You know. That's a common filler which I have come across when I was talking to the US clients. So if they find difficult to get the right word, they just fill this. You know. And is a word is a filler. And some have the habit of filling the word like. And some keep saying or so these are fillers. It's always good. There's nothing wrong to pause for a minute. If you don't find words, pause for a minute. I mean, when I say a minute, it's a common term, Pause for a second, that's fine. A second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, that's still fine. Audiences will feel that, oh, there is something that he's thinking about. Avoid these fillers. And it comes by practice. Without our knowledge, without our conscious, we are consciously unconscious. And you should consciously become conscious to avoid using these fillers. You should consciously do that effort to avoid fillers. And you can do it in a small group. For example, you can make a small group of 5 of yours, and each one of you can take a topic. You can still do it at home with your family, with your brothers, sisters, with your friends across. Take a topic, talk about that. And if somebody says, the rest of the group will just say, oh, they'll just raise their voice. Oh, which means that it's an indication, it's a warning that you are saying, you're using a filler. So this is a nice game to play, which I also have done a lot of times. In a lot of presentations, we have done it within the organization, within the company, within our small groups. So it's always good to practice this in a smaller group. And when you make this presentation without these fillers, it's very nice to listen to. Okay, so these are the important things which I thought I wanted to share with you about body language. The first one is attire. Just a quick summary. The first one is attire. It's important to wear the right attire. Grab your attention. So which means prepare a pitch, a presentation pitch. That's very important. So that you make the audience curious. What is he trying to say, or what is she trying to say? Posture, maintain the right posture. It's important when you are saying something, for example, when you have, now I have list of 8 to 9 points, and I'm trying to tell one by one to you guys. I'm also counting it. Eye-to-eye coordination, props, hand movements, line in a cage, modulation, voice, fillers. So try to do this. It's always brings in that positive vibration. Eye-to-eye coordination, as I said, do not. They say in the body language. I want to share this one with you guys. In a body language, I've read a few books about body language. When somebody doesn't talk to you eye to eye, there can be two things. One, if he looks towards the left, the common practice, if he looks towards left and tries to say something, he's trying to imagine something and tell you. He doesn't know. But when he looks at your eye, or when he looks at right and says that he already has some experience, he's not finding that words. But when he looks at you eye to eye and talks to you or explains or says something to you, he's pretty confident. He knows what he wants to say. So that's very important. So always don't talk to the walls. Talk to people. Any questions in this? Feel free to ask any kind of questions. Okay. Devraj sir, can we let me? I wanna show you a video.
Always.
Let me pause this presentation. I'll unpresent this. I'll try if I can.
If you feel difficult, we will share from our side.
Yeah, let me check. I will try to share that. If I cannot, I will ask you to share it. Can you see this? Okay, see my screen?
Yes, we are observing screen.
Good presentation versus bad presentation. Do you see that?
Presentation. Yes, we are observing.
Excellent, excellent. I'm just gonna play a small clip. Yeah, this is something which I thought it would be relevant to give you an idea about how a bad presentation or poor presentation and how a good presentation can be. I'll just play this. Just listen to this and also watch it.
Sorry I'm late, guys. I'm gonna try. What you got, a pen I can borrow? The water's gonna warm up. That's just nature, okay? The molecules start going fast. Yeah. Hello? Oh yeah, I'm free. So like, once the sun, comes out, it kind of like makes the plankton grow, enhance phytoplankton growth, enhance DMS production. That basically means that it's just moving. Enhance phytoplankton growth, back to the left, enhance DMS production, up, elevated DMS connection. Makes the plankton grow, and then after the plankton grows, it enhances DMS production, which kind of
Hi guys, my name is Daniel Quinn. I'm thankful that you guys could all make it today. I have a presentation shortly that's coming up. It's about phytoplankton, molecules, and a lot of generalizations in city populations. So, oh, you know what? I'm going to turn off my cell phone real quick. Sorry guys. Just do that. All right, so we're going to be talking about Claw hypothesis. So as you can see, when we have more increased sunlight, that goes into the ocean, and that makes the ocean warm up a lot more. As the ocean warms a lot more, we have enhanced phytoplankton growth, and then that leads to enhanced DMS production. Because of that, you can have enhanced phytoplankton growth. This is very important for the wildlife in the sea, and after it goes down to the ocean, warms up the ocean, and as you can see, you follow this path here, and it goes into enhanced phytoplankton growth, which eventually leads to enhanced DMS production. You guys can follow the whole cycle on this handout that I have here. It has the whole loop that we're going to be going through. We're going to start off with the sunlight here that goes down into the earth.
Yeah, that was a small presentation. Good and a bad presentation video. I now go back to my slide. Yeah. Is it visible to you guys?
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
okay.
visible. Yes.
Okay. Just a minute. Okay. So any questions? What did you observe in the video? There was a minute of presentation how you can how to do it right and how not to do it. In the bad presentation, the guy was not really, his body language was very dull. It was very negative. And he was just trying to stare at the presentation and then read what was there in the presentation. Or there was a lot of text which was very small, which the audience could not actually read. And I've come across some presentations where there's a lot of text and they just let you read that. Yeah, there's some text, please read it. If he has to do that, yeah, why should he do this presentation? Very well, he can give an handout and then read it whenever you have time. So it's always when you are presenting, you are 80% of your focus or your face, your front part of the body should be visible to the audience. Yeah, of course, you may have to refer some things, but now Yeah, you have more sophisticated stuff where you don't have to look at the slide behind, where the slides are coming on the back, but you still have a reference to look at what exactly the slide contents are. For example, when you have to press your mouse button, or when you have to use a remote controlled mouse where you can press it. So always try to face the audience rather than showing your back. So that's not recommended. Moving on to the next slide. Okay, we talk something about resume and interviews. So what I want to again share my experiences with you that I've come across or that I've gone through in interviewing candidates, or me being an interviewee, me being a candidate to be interviewed. So resume format is important. There are a lot of varieties, lot of different types of resume formats that are available in the market. I have a couple of good resume, two formats which I will show you to you at the end of this slide, which is reasonably a good one and a poor resume. But a format is something that is important to pick. And mind you that any interviewer, at least what I have read, what I have come across, any interviewer or a HR to that matter would take maximum of 5 seconds to scan the resume. So any candidate has 5 seconds to make a good impression, the first best impression to be selected for an interview. So don't have the resume of 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 pages. 2 pages are good enough. Make sure you summarize. You again, your resume would only talk about your experiences that you have, the challenges, what you have faced, how you have solved those challenges, and what are those contributions that you have done. If it is, for example, now you are budding students or outgoing students, so you would have done a lot of projects. So it's better to highlight those projects and the challenges that you had faced in those projects. And how did you come across to solve those challenges? And what was your contribution? What did your entire project contributed to your college or to a company where you did the project or to an organization or to whomsoever it is? Try to highlight that. So what is the difference that you made by doing those projects? So try to highlight these relevant points. So as I said, format, pick a decent format. Don't have too much of text in the resume. Don't make it like a novel. It's not a novel. It's a resume. It should talk. Bullet points is good to use. Use your bullet points to highlight your strengths and weaknesses. Yeah, you don't have to highlight your weaknesses, but it's a common question by the interviewers. What are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? Of course, we would always say that we have so much of strength. I'm a quick learner. I am very good at this. I'm very hardworking. But when you say this, you also have some background to prove that. How do you prove that you're a quick learner? Because the person who is interviewing you has not seen you in the past, and he has nothing other than the resume and you in front. So 4 years of your engineering, he has not even seen that. So when you say a strength, you should always have a background to prove that strength. You should give some examples always to prove that, yeah, I had this situation. For example, if you ask me what is my strength, I would say I'm a quick learner. How do I prove that? Dutch is a very difficult language. It's one of the difficult languages. Today I can speak Dutch. I started to learn Dutch since 2016. And in the last 4 years, I've learned Dutch and I can converse with Dutch. So that's an example. So when you say a quick learner, this is a common thing. I'm a quick learner. But you have to always give an example of how really quick you learn things. And weaknesses, do not highlight your weaknesses. Try to polish your weakness in such a way that it doesn't sound weak. For example, if somebody might ask you, what's your weakness? I tend to work a lot. When I'm at home, when I work from home, I don't see my time. So usually at office, I go at 9 o'clock to office and come back, leave office at around 5 o'clock. But when I'm working from home, I sit at 8:30 in the morning, take very less breaks, and then log out very late at 6 o'clock. That's actually a weakness, but the other person, depending on how he wants, which means the person, for example, if I say this to my manager, he would say, yeah, no, try to take breaks, try to limit your work hours to 8 hours or 9 hours, do not overwork. But internally he's happy, but because his work is going on. So you need to be really careful to polish your weakness and put it in such a way that it sound weakness. So that's one of yeah, these are the two examples that I could give you on a quick thought. LinkedIn. This is one of the most popular sites which is in the market now. 90% of the companies they hire people via LinkedIn, at least from the statistics seen last year and early this year. Most of them they have their LinkedIn profiles. It's good to have a LinkedIn profile for yourselves. So it can be for you students, it can be for anyone. If I mean, every week I keep my LinkedIn up to date. So every week on a Friday, I log into my LinkedIn and see what is that I have to tweak, I have to fine tune. I keep doing it. So it's always up to date. It's good to keep your LinkedIn profiles up to date. It applies to everyone. And based on the LinkedIn profiles updated. So when you have your LinkedIn profiles up to date, there is a lot of chance that recruiters will have your profiles when they, for example, when they look for candidates with, for example, in my case, when they look for candidates with migration experience, because I'm a migration consultant, and when they look for candidates or when they need candidates with experience in migrations, when I keep my LinkedIn profile up to date, so there are the chances are high that I'm noticed. So create your LinkedIn profile, keep your LinkedIn profile up to date. And it applies to everyone. The next one, the preparation for the interview. So this is very important because when you are, this is a long process. Of course, you would prepare your resume. And when you're preparing for the interview, usually companies, they have job descriptions. They have a role that is open and that's a job, and they have a description for the job. So I want the candidate to have an experience of migration skills, experience in migrating across data centers, experience of or knowledge with Azure and Amazon Web Services or Google data centers, experience in making design documents, experience in making detailed. This is a job description. I mean, I'm just giving a description of my job, but every job will have its description. So especially for the outgoing students, because the only experience you have is your projects. So that's where I recommend you to highlight your project details, the challenges that you have faced, what difference did you make it, and how did you solve those challenges? Highlight it. So when they see a candidate, a fresher, you'll be called a fresher when you go out for a job hunt. And when they look at their resumes, they know that you don't have experience. It's logical. It's illogical that they can ask you for do you have any experience? It's very illogical. They cannot ask you that. And they will definitely look at your projects. What have you done? What is the difference that you have brought in? Or how is your project used in your college? For example, if you have made a some mechanical stuff with a small engine, motor, and other stuff. So is it being used? Or you just did your project for your knowledge? So that's important. So that's one thing. So prepare your resume according to the job description. I don't say here to just put a lot of information that you don't know. Your resume should have information that you know very well. Whatever you know, whatever you have in your brain as experience with your overall experience. It could be any type of experience. Only that should be available on your resume. And he can ask, or he or she can ask any question out of your resume, which you should be able to, because you already know what you have done, what you are doing, or what you have experienced. So it's easy for you to say that. And do not bluff when you don't know the answer. So that's my next point. Make sure you say, I don't know. That's fine. That's fine to say I don't know. Because when you say I don't know, that opens up the doors to learn something. For example, I don't know in detail how a mechanical engine works. When somebody asks me a question, of course, I don't have experience working in that. I would straight away say I don't know. And if that particular job description needs that information or that knowledge at least, so I would definitely try to dig deep into it. The moment if you say I know and try to bluff the interviewer, that forms a very negative impression. Any questions? And also it's important while preparing for your interview, make sure what that organization or what that company does. What are they good at? What are their products in the market? Do you know the details about information about those products? And when was that company founded? If possible, who founded that? You don't have to have these by heart, but go through that. When you go through these information, you will definitely remember that when you are facing an interview. So make sure you have a background check of that company, of what they do, when was that founded, if possible, who founded that company, how long it's been in the market, and who are their competitors. So it's always important to also know the competitors. For example, KPN. I work for KPN. So we are a data center services company. So Amazon Web Services, Azure Web Services, Google data centers, these are all competitors to us. So it doesn't mean that I have to know everything about my company, but of course I have to know have the information of the other three companies who are competitors. So it's good to have and try to make a difference between what is good and what is he good at, the competitors, what are they good at, and what is the company that you are going for an interview is good at. So that's very important. So knowing about a company, we cannot just go blindly sit in an interview without any preparation. And if they ask, what do you know about company? Tell me something about our company. You can't be blank because you are trying to apply. You have applied for a job in their company. And if everything falls in place, you'll be working for that company. You cannot say once I start working in your company, I'll try to know more about it. No, it's a background homework. Okay. The next one is about saying no and I don't know. You have to practice this. Though you don't use it every time, it's good to say no. If my manager asks me, do you have time this afternoon? For example, before I joined this call, a colleague of mine asked me, do you have time at 11 o'clock for a call? I said no. You don't have to give reasons unless asked for. I don't have time. Can you pick up a task of mine to do this? No, I am already busy with some other work. You can always say that. Maybe tomorrow or next week. So it's important to say no, and I don't know. If somebody asks you a question, do you know this? If you know that, if you're sure, if you know that, or if you at least you have knowledge about it, you say, I have some knowledge about it, but I have not worked hands-on. I will give it a try. I'll give my best try to do that. That's a good answer. And if you have no knowledge about it, and if you have not done, of course, when you don't have knowledge, you would not have done it. So you can always say, I don't know. And you have to say, I don't know. As I said, when you say, I don't know, that's an opportunity to learn about that. And even in the interviews, you can say, sorry, sir, I don't know about this, but I will try to know more about this. This is interesting. You have to always, when you say, I don't know, it's not a period. I don't know. It sounds very interesting. I will definitely research on this, or I'll definitely go back and look into it. That gives a positive impression to the person whom you're talking to, saying that, hey, this guy doesn't know, but he has some interest to know that. It's secondary that after going home, you just do it or not, but to give a positive impression there. When you give a positive impression, you're committing it. When you commit it, you have to do it. So that's the funda behind saying I don't know and then trying to know about it. Now let's see in the next slide. Is it visible? The slides are visible to you?
Yes, sir. It is visible.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, these are screenshots which I picked it up. I removed the names of the candidates. I just picked it up from internet. There are quite a lot of formats. So on the left side with a yellow or orange pane, so that looks very decent. It's a decent resume. And the one on the right, though it has a lot of information, it's it's a lot of text. I don't say it's a bad resume, but it's a poor resume. Try to avoid a lot of text. Make it as simple as possible. As I said, 2 pages, not more than 2 pages. Try to shrink all your experiences. It doesn't matter you have 10 years experience or 20 years experience or whatever it is. Try to shrink it to just 2 pages. As I said, an interviewer would take, or a HR who shortlists the resumes, they would take 5 seconds to screen a resume. They would see that, oh, this looks good, which means that the first impression that they get when they look at the second, I mean, the resume on the left, the decent resume is, oh, there is an effort that he has spent to make it. OK, this looks OK. Let me see this. He'll keep it aside. And the right one, oh, this is too jumbled. OK, too much of text. So it takes a lot of time for me to read it and then OK, keep it or put it in the bin or trash can or reject it. So do not overflood your resume with a lot of text and try to keep it. You can put your photograph in a resume. That's a common practice, at least these days, in the last few years. I also have my photograph in my resume when I make it. So it's good. And put your achievements, your details. You don't have to give your personal details. You're not obliged to give your personal details. If you want, you may give, but in a resume, just give your name and yeah, your email address and your contact number. That's enough. It doesn't have to come home to do an interview. You will go to their office. Just give your email address, give your phone number, telephone number, and highlight your skills. That's what in the second in the left side resume that you can see. The skills are highlighted. Problem solving, adaptability, collaboration, strong work ethic, time management, critical thinking, handling pressure. So when you put these skills, yeah, these are the soft skills. The other one are your skills that come with your experience. For example, handling, when you have done your projects, those are technical skills. These are the soft skills. And your education, give all the details about your education. And if you have won any awards at school, the best seminar or the best project award. So you can always add them. And you clearly mention your objective in your resume. What is your goal? Set your goal. So in the next 5 years, if you ask me what's your goal, in the next 5 years, I want to be an architect. So now I'm a consultant. The next 5 years, I want to be an architect. So that's the only goal. And what is that experience that will back me to reach that goal? And don't write too much of text saying that in your esteemed company, I would like to work, I would work hard, I would do that, I would do this. Don't write all that. Make it very simple. Keep it simple. And yeah, this is an example of a decent resume versus a poor resume. I don't say that bad resume, it's a poor resume with a lot of text in it. So when I look at it, I would, yeah, if I have time, lot of time to look into that, of course, I would definitely compare, but that's not the case. 99% of the times they will have too many resumes to look into and they'll just screen. Make sure you highlight the first page is what you highlight all your achievements, your skills, your strengths and other things. Any questions in this? Students, any questions?
Students, feel free to express yourself. Any queries, questions, and clarifications. If you want, feel free to ask the questions.
You should ask. This is a preparation, and you have to talk. You cannot just be. If I was there physically there, I mean, if this was an auditorium, I was doing a presentation, then I would have walked to you and asked you in person. But now I cannot do that. I cannot just poke you or pinpoint you to ask to make you ask a question. So it's an opportunity. You should use that opportunity. There's nothing wrong. There is no stupid question. Many a times I ask questions which later I might find it stupid, but there is no stupid question. Every question is valid because the information that everyone has, the knowledge everyone has differs. So there's always a difference between the knowledge that we have. So there's nothing wrong. I mean, you should not be worried about what the other person thinks if I ask this question. Leave this aside.
Sir, hello, sir. Me, Mohammed
Yes.
Yusuf Khan. Sir, actually, I have a small doubt about resume, yes. Sir. Yeah. Sir, sir, many tell that even in our college, the soft skill trainer, he told that the resume should be 2 pages and CV should be 3 pages. But the outside, like I have I've done so many live sessions with foreign country people and many of the trainers all over the India, and they actually told me that the resume should be of 1 page. So according to you, what is right, sir?
See, if you can shrink your, when I say 2 pages, that's the maximum.
Okay.
That's the maximum. You can still shrink your resume to 1 page. When you put a lot of, for example, yeah.
Murali.
Yes.
Murali. Yes, I think you have to differentiate to them between resume, biodata, and CV. Then only they'll be able to differentiate.
See, curriculum vitae. CV is curriculum vitae. And resume is when you have experience, when you have a lot of experience. Initially, you come up with a CV. For example, now what you have done in the curriculum, in your bachelor's or in the previous years, so that you accumulate everything in a curriculum vitae. Over a period of time, your curriculum vitae will transform as a resume. and your resume over a period of time becomes a profile. So in curriculum vitae, you have very less experience about in the industry, and what you have experience is more on the projects, more on what you have done with your friends or with in your colleges or in institutes. When you go and make it when that gets transformed as a resume, your resume will have experience of what you have done in the industry. And when you have very specific or in-depth knowledge about one part of your industry, for example, Benz or Audi or Volkswagen, these are car manufacturing companies. So everybody will have their expertise in one specific part. One only does doors, one only designs doors, one only designs engines, one only designs the chassis. So when you get into a position where you are specialized in one, so then your resume becomes a profile where you have a lot of experience on your on what you do, and you know in and out of it. So you're more like an consultant and an architect, where you have experience hands-on in the past, and you have transformed your experience to make it into design and then architect what the company wants to design. So resume is a common term that is used. And when I say 2 pages, it need not be 2 pages. If you can still, yeah, there are resumes in the, if you just Google it around. I mean, I did not do it because everybody can Google around. There is one page which talks everything about it. It's all pictorial. So it talks about their skills, it talks about their experiences, it talks about their challenges. It's still one page. So there's no hard and fast rule that it should always have 2 pages. I mean, the best recommended is 2 pages. Try not to have too long a resume. That's a recommendation. Does it answer your question, Mohammed?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Any other questions, guys?
Hello, sir. I'm Krishna Prasad.
Yes. Yes.
Sir, along with the resume, they are sometimes asked about a cover letter, sir. So what is a cover letter, sir?
Okay. Usually it's a practice these days, at least in the last 10 years that I've come across, they ask for a cover letter. Your cover letter should talk about, you should not talk in detail. It should be a highlight of your resume. So it talks about, for example, if I write a cover letter, I would say I'm a migration consultant, and this is what is my, this is what I have in general as an experience, and what is my goal, and talk more about what you want to do in their company. If you are hired, you talk more about what you want to contribute. So a short introduction of yours, your name, what's your role, and then a line of your experience, and then comes a goal. What is that you want to achieve? And then what you want to contribute. So that's a cover letter. And this is specifically addressed to yeah, for per company or for per job description. Does it answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Or any other questions? Yeah, if you want, I can walk the slides back also. I can walk through the slides back.
Yusuf and Krishna Prasad, any other questions for?
No, sir, that's it.
Okay.
Any other students? Do you have any questions? Feel free to ask.
Hi, sir. It's Vrishank.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, after receiving any awards or certifications, we usually attach it to the resume. Like if I have received some award from a hackathon, we usually attach it to the resume. So if I have like 20, 25 certificates or certification or awards, So is it be ideal to attach every one of them, or is it is very good to attach a very few, selecting some?
Frankly speaking, you're not obliged to attach any of your certificates. You can just put them as stamps. For example, awards and achievements. You can just write a line about it. I participated in the hackathon. I participated in a conference in Germany. I made a seminar. I presented a seminar about fluid mechanics in France or in Delhi. You can just say that. You don't have to attach them. Otherwise, your resume will become this thick. Your 2-page resume plus 25 certificates. You need not. Because when you go for a resume, they always, it's a practice to print those resumes. And they don't have to print 25, 30 pages. You're not obliged to attach anything. You can just make a reference saying that this is what are my achievements and awards. At college, I received the best seminar presenter award or the best project award. You can just, when they ask you for the legitimacy of that, when they ask you for that, you can present it, a soft copy of it. You don't have to present any originals. Originals are always for you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah, welcome. Any other questions?
Any other questions from outgoing students? Who are in final year? Because you are the one you are supposed to take care about all these things, because you are supposed to attend many interviews. So please feel free to ask questions which will be helpful a lot in your future endeavors.
As I said, no question is a stupid question. Every question is a valid question. And take this out of your mind, what other person thinks about if I ask a question. Nope. You're free to ask question. You're free to talk. Okay, if there are no questions, I think we are at the end of the presentation. So summary, I want to summarize. What's important? Plan what you want to do. Prepare how to do that and present it. This applies to not just making presentations for anything. It can be for anything. You have to have a right plan. You have to make the right preparation, and then you have to present it. One small example is last week I had a vacation and I wanted to finish my attic on the top. I have a small attic. In Kannada they call atta, where they put all the stuff. So it was not properly floored on the attic on the other side. So planning. So what is that I should do? Okay, I should lay planks on it. Okay, what's my preparation? Or why am I doing it? So to keep it clean so that I can put all the stuff upstairs, which I don't use it regularly. And then preparation. Take the measurements. Get the right size wood cut and present it. I just put it finished. So it can be for anything. It need not only be for making presentations. Plan your activity, prepare for your activity, and action it. And when you are doing it, pick the right tool for your action. You have to, depending on what activity you are planning, in the preparation phase, you pick the right tool. And I would like to advise, be calm and positive to deliver the best. So how can you be calm? So when you practice more, remember those preparations. Just like Ashwatthappa sir said, you used to do it in front of the mirror. I also do it. I still do it. So it's always good to practice. When you practice, you're positive. When you're positive, you're calm. Yeah, that's all is for today as a presentation. Unless we have any questions, we can conclude. Are there any questions?
Participants, feel free to ask the questions.
We still have.
Devraj,
Please, sir.
see, if you go to Google,
Okay.
in that they have clearly mentioned the difference between CV, resume, biodata, and
Okay.
profile.
Okay,
Tell
sir.
all your students
Yes.
if they want to have clear-cut differences between CV, resume, biodata,
Yes.
and profile, they can see it there.
Sure, sir. I will convey the message to our
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Thank you,
Google
sir.
is a very powerful tool, as Sir said. It's a very powerful tool. You use it to the best. You find everything on Google.
Yeah. Anything you want, you can get it from Google.
Yes.
Today, not
Yeah, in
for
depth.
not in
Yes.
our age. It's today's age.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's the best advantage
Okay.
that you guys have.
Okay. Can we conclude? Participants can. Okay. Okay. We have come to the last stage of the program webinar on effective presentation skills. And now I request Professor Yashwant to render a vote of thanks to all participants and speakers, deans, professors, colleagues, etc. Now over to Professor Yashwant. Sir, Yashwant, sir, please.
Thank you, Devraj sir. Good afternoon, everyone. It's indeed a pleasure to propose vote of thanks on this occasion. First and foremost, I would like to thank our special guest, Mr. Muralidhar Govindaswamy, consultant KPN N.V, who, despite his busy schedule, has agreed to share his knowledge on effective presentation skills with us. Indeed, sir, it's a very pleasure to have you today. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
I would like to extend my gratitude to the management of ATME College of Engineering for extending their complete support in organizing and successfully conducting this webinar. I further extend my gratitude to our Honorable Principal, Dr. Basavaraj L, for his guidance and continuous support. I would also like to make a special mention of our Dean, Student Welfare, Dr. Ratnakar Ji, for being a mentor, motivator behind organizing this event. I would also like to extend gratitude to Dean Academics, Dr. M.S. Govindagowda, and Dean Research and Development, Dr. S.R. Bhagyashri, also for their extended support. I would also like to thank our head of the department, Dr. Srinivasa K, for his guidance and continuous support throughout organizing this event and successfully completing it. Finally, I would also like to extend a warm gratitude to all the students, participants, and the organizers of the event for making this webinar a grand success. Thank you, one and all.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Yashwant sir. Thank you, one and all. I would also personally thank to everyone, Speaker Muralidhar Govindaswamy. Once again, a heartfelt thanks to Speaker and all the participants who have been gathered here and spending their valuable time. And also my dear students and budding engineers and outgoing students. Thanks a lot, and I wish you all the best for your future endeavor. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Devraj, thank you for inviting me for this session.
Thank you very much, sir. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you very much. Okay. Okay.